Welcome to Blaine, Minnesota. We're here at the U.S. Open in the YCC division. I'm Emmy Fitzgerald with Eric Larson, and we are facing off D.C. Rogue, the 3 seed, against Sauce out of Seattle. And both strong teams with a lot of graduating seniors. That experience usually is pretty helpful for a team.
Yeah, we were interviewing the players for a minute, and a load of graduating seniors. So this is going to be some really high-level play.
So there's some wind out on the field as Rogue will pull to Seattle to start things off. Pull goes about 2/3 down the field. Sauce in a vert stack. Trying to work it up the sideline. Olivia Goss launches from power position and just out of the reach of Jintet Coca. So Rogue will go to pick up. Really looking to isolate a cutter in that forced space. We'll reset to the handler. And the continued shot is good underneath. McCaig resetting to Alston. That goes back over. Ariano cannot quite complete that to Alston. So the disc will go back to Seattle. Goss trying to stay patient and calm as she picks up, running out of the end zone set. And Seattle gets the score right off the bat. That's an offensive hold.
Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward throw. Cut to space, have a plan, work the plan, and it worked. Scoring a goal.
And the discipline for teams to have good end zone offense is something that really shouldn't be understated either.
Especially on a windy day like this.
So 1-0 off the bat.
I think the whole day long we're going to see the teams pushing for that upwind break. And if they can get that, that might be a deciding factor in the game.
You see Rogue coach Jenny Fay, longtime handler on DC Scandal, a women's team that lost in the semis earlier today to Fury, but they had a overall great run in the tournament. But this is at least her second year to coach Rogue. Even when she was playing with Scandal last year, she prioritized the YCC team because this is their club championships.
That's right, we have teams from all over the U.S. coming to play in the YCC, the championships for youth club.
So Rogue with the shot underneath right away, working it up the far sideline. Sands shoots it down to Fugel, and right on the doorstep, looking to get their first points on the board. A pick is called. So through tight coverage, the first throw goes off. That continuation is a completion. So we have one hold apiece, both in the same end zone, both teams.
Just trading back and forth. I think that's going to be common today.
That really nice use of the break space to get open. So 1 point apiece. Seattle in the white jerseys, DC in the white jerseys, pardon me, Seattle in the black jerseys. And Casey Aikida, one of the coaches for Sauce, he also plays with Seattle Mixtape, another team competing here in the YCC division.
Hey, let's watch our run now, 'cause the observability is actually really cool. So let's check it out.
So Rogue with the pull. Lots of hang time. That's caught.
Not looking live, not looking live, not looking live.
Seattle gaining yards underneath. Keith with the flick, it pops up, but DC is in the way. They force a turnover. And DC with those quick continuation passes. Now around half field.
Settle.
Alston near sideline. She'll find Ariano. Count's getting high, but it's completed underneath, just shy of the goal line. And the next completion is good. That goes to Z Rattleman.
And that's what we were talking about. That's what a team is going to look for, is going upwind and breaking, getting a point when it ought to be harder.
So what do you think was really effective from the Rogue side to be able to get that upwind break?
They had a lot of composure holding the disc, and even when it was high stall counts, you didn't see them throwing something that they didn't have. They did a reset here, a quick upline there. And it's that patience and composure that's going to earn you those upwind.
So Rogue is now up 2-1 in the first half. It's a game to 15. Half is at 8. Both teams from either coast meeting in the middle.
It's about as far as you can be from each other.
Both coming from extremely strong ultimate programs.
Very deep. And you've got the amazing Alex Frazier on the side, snapping some shots. If you're lucky enough to get a picture snapped from him, I promise you it's going to be a poster or something. Some sick USAU advertisement.
Hey, down the pole now.
And both teams hoping that they'll have a lot of great photo finish opportunities here.
Here we go, Rogue.
As Sauce will receive the pull. Some give and go right off the bat. Then we'll follow with some additional yards. The hut goes up. And Gudu was kind of sandwiched in between two DC defenders because of all that hang time.
Oof, and they threw it back away, so tit for tat.
So Seattle picking up.
Ellie with her. Flat.
Nice high point grab from Elmi, but there's a stoppage downfield, pick called.
You see Seattle Sauce stacking in what's called a center vert. It allows for space on either side of the field.
Good. Come back around. No round, no round, no round, no round. You're good, you're good.
So Shigley looking for that continuation, faking off the options, goes for the end zone, and it's flying, and one-handed catch looked like it would be good from Jintet Koka, but trailed off. That's a hard disc to read. So Nisley will get that over to Youngst. Moving upfield to Sands. In the power position is Ava Jones. They'll continue that to McCaig. And throwing into tight spaces, able to continue the possession as they reach the goal line. Several players eager to be the one to score. DC will reset for that far continue, but just overshot. Back in, thrown to space, but nice bid, but lands out of bounds.
Great attempt to toe the line and stay in. Anything that is touching the line is actually considered out. So you have to have that toe inside when you're catching the disc.
So Nisley will walk it up where it went out of bounds, right on the goal line. Looking, and that time it is in bounds. Ella Youngst gets that score.
You can tell they're amped, the whole team storming the field. And that's the kind of energy you need to take a downwind point that you're expected to win and transform that into the next upwind break.
Youngst, the newly graduated senior. She's headed to University of North Carolina this fall. Really strong ultimate program. Competed at the college championships this past spring.
While the teams talk a little strap, I've got a question for you. You mentioned that someone had jumped into power position. Can you explain for the viewers what that means?
So a power position is when a handler, there's a dish to a thrower, and they're unguarded. They have great positioning to use that momentum to throw a huck.
Perfect.
So Rogue goes up by 2, 3-1 early on.
Let's go!
And disc lands. It lands in just past half field. Checked in. Siegel over to Wynn. Wynn quickly underneath to D'Souza. And it was a bit of an overthrow, but looked like maybe it could be caught on the next attempt, but it will go over to DC.
Yeah, I'm not sure who that was intended for, but there were two good looks. So clearly something was happening right.
Right off the bat, DC sending one player deep. They'll reset to the handler. That continuation and a sliding attempt, but the disc was headed very quickly to the ground. Another shot for Seattle. It's intercepted by Alston.
Go!
And there's a huck.
Not a bad look, not a bad look. Hey, let's get back.
It's incomplete, but keeps rolling, which forces Seattle to work it down the full field. Nice layout. Keep that alive. Ibali maintains her composure after the layout. Back in the handler set. Now Seattle trying to spread out the offense a little bit.
Here we go, here we go.
The up the line look
Shadow
just
run.
out of reach. Disc goes back to Rogue. And that, the wind looked like that, it popped that one up
I
a
was
little
going to
bit.
say, we can't emphasize enough the difficulty the wind adds. Things that you're throwing downwind are going to go faster than you want. Things you throw upwind are going to pop up higher than you want.
So Seattle back in the red zone, looking for a chance to convert.
A lot of layouts here.
Both teams, it seems like they really can see the importance, not afraid to use their body. Rogue is working with a lot of spacing.
Yes, Carrier, yes, Carrier. Under,
Moving that back and forth. Arellano,
Oh
little
dear.
handler miscue.
There we go, let's get it back, let's get it back.
Let's see if Saucy can put it in this time.
Keep it backfield.
And that was another effect of the wind, the downwind pushing the disc towards the ground. So floating into space,
Wow.
caught two-handed from Rogue, and another bid.
Great bid.
They are just doing Alex's job for him. He's going to have amazing shots for these ladies.
And a timeout called on the field. Lots of possession changes back and forth.
They might need a breather. It's a pretty good call.
And it is difficult to maintain that balance between intensity, but then also staying calm.
Agreed. I think if online you can hear the sidelines yelling, you're going to hear them say the word chilly a lot today. And it's simply put, try to make the right decisions rather than try and force something because of the conditions and how difficult it is to make throws and catches today.
So currently DC is up by 2, and Seattle, knowing the importance, a two-goal deficit versus a 3 is a huge difference early on, trying to make that up then in breaks.
Indeed.
These two teams, 2 of 88 that are competing in the YCC divisions in both the U20 and the U17 across girls, boys, and mixed. There's a lot of youth players descending on Blaine, Minnesota.
And it's a great facility here too. It's one of the largest sports complex in the States. And it's been the home of the US Open for a bunch of years. Maybe 2 years ago, they exported it out to another state and decided it wasn't good enough conditions.
So the huck goes up right away. It's a good look, but can't quite get there. So Rogue will swing it over, looking for that upfield, and sails overhead. So Seattle with that huck right away, even though it didn't complete, now that the turnover occurred, they're in the red zone, looking to take it within 1. And just outside of the fingertips.
Wow, this is a hard-fought point. I think whoever scores it is going to have some serious momentum going into the next point. And we're going to see a lot of player trades.
It's always one of those when you're not on the long point, you're grateful, but you know for sure you're going on the next. DC gets it off of the sideline. That fast continuation is good, working to gain yards. Rogue settling into more of a rhythm. Alston lays out for it. Up the line. Now Rogue advancing towards their end zone. 2 players overhead, intercepted. Betsy Siegel checking it in on the goal line. But the swing pass is just a little bit too far. So Rogue will tap it in.
Wow.
So DC Rogue is able to get the break. They go up 4-1.
Wow. And if you were watching that point, blue headband is Getter. She's been throwing nothing but crisp throws so far. I'd say she's a good person to watch out for, and she's quite bright with that headband. Really crisp flicks all day long so far.
And Getter, another recently graduated senior,
Yeah?
I believe headed to George Mason this fall.
Wow. Yeah, it's a more experienced or at least older team than what we've seen on other teams.
And really using that, you can see that calm and composure. And Seattle has, I think, 7 graduating seniors as well. So, you know, they're utilizing that, but we have seen the wind play a factor with some of those connecting throws. They're just fingertips away.
Definitely. We got Ikeda talking to his team, trying to get them amped up so they can get this point. It is an O point for them, but it's upwind.
So the pull lands in bounds. It's fielded by Goss, centered over to King. Through pressure, possession maintains with Seattle. And a high swing, it's floating, but maintains. Seattle leaving their feet if they need to. Through tight person looks.
Inside.
Shigley
No ball.
on the sideline.
Good.
Centers it. Youngst gets that over to Tornquist.
Wow, look at that bid.
So Shigley over to Redding. And that was a hold that Seattle needed in really crisp offense.
Yeah. I would say they had phenomenal hands, and if they can get a little more connection on a continuation, one throw and then another off of that rather than resetting with their handlers, we're going to see a whole different team coming from Saucy.
So now the lead is 2. Rogue will go back down onto offense to receive as Seattle. Sometimes you just need, what difference does it make to have a big score or play to help shift the momentum?
It's mental. This game, not the British mental. It's, sorry. Yeah, it's all a mental game. The momentum, having your sidelines cheering for you, all of that can get someone amped to either throw something a little further, jump a little higher, or cut and body out their person a little better too.
Coming into the game on Saturday, Rogue and Sauce won both of their games. The next, Rogue fell to Era while Sauce beat Devil. So both teams have had wins. Rogue coming off a loss, but starting out strong. see a zone look from Sauce. Right through the middle. Young's quick pass to Tornquist. One-handed catch. Right over the top, but batted down by the Sauce defender. So this is an opportunity for Seattle to get back one of the breaks.
They could make it a one-point game.
So we see a person look, intercepted.
And blasted deep.
There's a huck right away, looking for Youngst. Youngst through two defenders is able to keep the disc to get the snag.
Look at this. Clearly height was not on her side, but she's got springs for legs and takes the disc.
So the 3-point lead stays intact for Rogue.
And I think it's going to keep chipping away at Seattle, having always being a few points down. Despite getting a point, they're going to think to themselves, ugh, we've got 2 more to go. And that's going to play to Rogue's advantage.
So the US Open began on Friday with the International Club Championship pool play starting, and those finals are happening today.
Right now, actually.
Yes. With the women's final this evening on ESPN2. However, the youth championships began Saturday and will conclude on Monday.
It's the advantage of summer. No school to hold you back.
So lots of distance on the pull. Seattle hoping to convert. Good heads up play. Disc gets caught in the wind. There are 2 Rogue players that were there to get the D.
Olivia, let's go, let's go. Oh, Liv.
So back in, another misconnection. We'll give it back to Seattle.
No under. Underneath them, underneath your person.
And inside, close one-on-one defense.
They really have been playing tight defense all day. But the other type of defense we'll see, we can talk about when it pops up on the field again, that zone defense.
And Seattle back with the disc, hoping to convert. Have good continuations up to midfield.
Oh dear, a slew of Rogue to eat that up.
And there's the huck. It will, looks like that landed out of bounds. So the disc will go back to Seattle, but they will have a farther distance they need to go. And that's a block. Rogue now on the doorstep. They could increase the lead to 4, and leaving her feet is Grace Alston. And that is another break for Rogue.
Wowee. I wonder if Seattle's gonna maybe call it timeout, try to regroup.
And Alston lands torso first,
Oof.
but stays in bounds.
That's gotta smart, but sometimes you gotta sacrifice. And I think they'll agree that that break was worth it.
She's headed to Dartmouth this fall.
Another graduating senior. Wow.
And based on how she's been playing this tournament, will be a welcomed addition to the Princess Layout team.
You'll be seeing and hearing her name more. No timeout was called, but they are taking the full time allowed by the observers between points. Speaking of which, if you've seen the people in orange shirts on the field, they're not players. They're what's called an observer, and in youth club championships, they're passive observers, which means that they won't actively make any calls, but you can reference them for rules, and they will signal if a team was offsides during the pull as well, with a big X over their hands, and then the players on the field are allowed to call that offsides if they want, or if they notice.
It's a great opportunity for players to learn the rules and the time of the games.
Exactly. They're not gonna make the players follow the rules necessarily, but it helps teach them the rules.
So yardage right away. Doesn't take many passes for Seattle to get the goal. That's Anna Gadu.
I think that was just 2 or 3 or 4 touches. That was a real quick point for them.
And those are the quicker points.
It slip out of their fingers because of the wind, but I expect it to sit on that side of the field all day.
So they're able to get those completions together. DC still with the 3-point lead, 2 points from taking half. But Seattle showing a lot of fight, working hard to get those Ds.
It's about this line now.
See other YCC teams coming to hang out. I believe Insidious is a U17 team. And at the Gumball, I asked them, because Insidious is a very scary movie. It is very scary. And I asked them, you have a scary name. Have you seen the movie? No, we haven't. I said, well, don't see it for a few years.
Watch it.
It's very scary. Yes, they are the U17 team out of Seattle, cheering on their Sauce fellow Seattleites.
It really makes a difference. I can say that the last game we were watching, Oregon was down, and their boys team came to cheer on the mixed team, and it was the deciding factor, I think.
So Rogue on offense with the zone look from Sauce. Rogue breaks through, not quite in, looking to get into the end zone set. Trying to show patience to get those open looks, and another shot to that same space that we've seen a few other scores, but incomplete. So Sauce will work it through the handlers, continue upfield. Reading to Elmi.
Icky, watch the hammer poke, watch the poke.
Back in and just bounces off the hands. Wind popped that one up. Rogue on the sideline, but a hand block right at the disc.
Wow, Gus, well done.
Immediate end zone shot, and two-hand grab is good. Lauren Wynn gets the goal.
There looks like there might be a violation on the field. Sauce didn't tap the disc in on the ground. She hit it with her hand, and
they're calling a travel on the throw.
that's what it is.
So we'll take the point back. Goss will get the disc.
Don't you have stats?
So they're going to try to set up as they were when the violation happened.
So the disc goes to Win, this time outside of the end zone. Sauce resets right now with the disc. I think a pick called.
What's interesting about Ultimate Frisbee is that you're watching the players work out the result of a foul or violation on their own.
So look towards the end zone, but a block from Rogue. Sands gets it, and there's a huck. Just goes through the hands of the DC player. Wright will pick it up for Seattle.
Come on, push that lane, push that lane. Find her, inside. Front. No run.
Redding to Elmy. Continues over to Wright. Moving to the other side of the field. Nice movement from Seattle. And Win will get the goal.
That was 3 breaks in a row, and that's exactly the kind of movement you expect once you get a break, is everyone should be open.
And Sauce threw it right away, so it doesn't allow an opportunity for the downfield defenders to get back into position.
Some people would say the disc don't lie. Win scored the goal, it was retracted, and she got it again moments later.
Win just wanted that score one way or the other. She's able to get it. Rogue still leading by 2. And now it does seem like a timeout has been called on the field. So Rogue will now have the disc on offense.
But again, it's going to be that upwind point we keep coming back to. But I would say both teams have pulled off that upwind kind of upset. So we'll see if they can pull it off as well. I don't think it's a question of if, it's now a question of when. They've showed that they have those throws, they have those catches, and they keep calm under pressure.
So coming out of the timeout, both coaches getting in a few final thoughts.
If we could mic up the coaches, what do you think Seattle Sauce's coach would be saying right now?
Well, I think it would be really be aggressive and go get that disc. If it floats up in the air like we've seen a lot, be ready to come down with it. Rogue has some talented throwers, but the Wind is also a powerful foe and defender. And the pull has a little bit of an air bounce to get some more yards. It's right inside of half field.
And they're playing a little bit of a loose zone.
Tornquist to Collinson. Back over to Nicely. Cuts through to Fugel. Coming with two hands is Youngst. And they'll find this little space right outside the goal line. The most valuable possessions are those right outside the end zone. Youngst, count getting high, but she'll put it to space for Caroline Tornquist. And that's a goal for Rogue.
Keeping that 3-point lead.
And Tornquist, another graduating senior, who will no doubt be another help on Princess Layout in Dartmouth.
I would say Youngst has an interesting advantage over a lot of players. If you noticed, she's a lefty. And that really, I cannot tell you the number of times that I've been tricked by a lefty holding the disc with their right hand and then stepping out the exact opposite direction I expect.
And with the wind too, depending on the force, when everyone else is being forced to throw a flick, a lot of times you have more control throwing a backhand.
Right.
And you have a lefty backhand.
Right.
Basically, the team is forcing you to throw a more effective throw in the wind.
Exactly.
We've seen some teams with 3 or 4 lefties on the team that they kind of space out in between their O and D lines to really use to that advantage. Seattle, all 7 girls with their hands up, ready to get that disc.
Hungry, hungry.
So some give and goes in the backfield. Gadu to Elmi. Resets to Goss. And there was a lot of spacing between the handlers in the stack. Made the overthrow. Huck right away.
Floating.
That's floating. Going to the ground to catch it is McCaig. She's not quite in, so she'll check it just about at the goal line. Resets to Alston. But a pick is called. There was a throw that went off, but we're gonna wait.
It didn't look like they were quite ready to start yet.
This is a great example where you can see the observer teaching kind of what the rules are for coming back in, checking in the disc.
Exactly. From here, it's hard to tell if Alston and Gadu are having a disagreement or if it's one of the cutters that is not quite sure.
But it looks like that both teams will signal goal, so DC will get the break. And with that, they will take half, 8-4.
Wow, what a tough way to take half as far as Seattle is concerned. It's not a good feeling.
But if you're DC Rogue, what have they done really well in this first half to be able to have the 4-point lead?
I can definitively say that they've had crisper throws every time. And they're working it through their handlers because of those throws they have.
So DC Rogue up by 4 as the wind is proving an 8th defender for both teams.
Exactly.
In this first half. Both teams not afraid to leave their feet. Saw all kinds of layouts.
Towing those lines.
So we'll take a quick break as we will talk about the first half when we return.
Excited today, and I was like, yes, I am. I didn't want to say anything else. I feel a lot more comfortable here.
Good. Yeah, and we kind of want it to be a conversation. You know, I think we're doing a good job balancing, the sport versus the zone. That's kind of what we're trying to do.
That was smart. I saw you checking the live responses.
Yeah,
I didn't think of that. The AM doesn't have data, so I didn't even think of other things.
Yes.
I got something coming.
Sweet, thank you.
I'll jump on that. But I am going to load up the live feed. Alright, what do you need? Up here. Come up here, Sonny.
How am I getting up? The ladder there?
Yep.
Cool.
It is a tight fit. Just climb above it.
All right, what's your name?
Fred. Fred Wolf.
Fred Wolf?
Is everybody supposed to be skinny?
I just jumped over the whole table.
Climbing the ladder.
Yep. Yeah, we're good.
So you'll put that on,
Alright.
and we will talk about the first half. What's worked well? Well,
Yeah, I mean,
you're not on yet.
not on yet?
Yeah.
Okay. What worked well?
Yeah, what works well? If there seems to be a lot of experience on the team,
Right.
and you know how that patience is really helpful with the red zone offense. And then usually the third question is how do you maintain this momentum in the second half? And there will be some highlights that come up. So if you look, if you see one that you want to talk to, that's great. You'll have to. We're ready.
At the half, DC Rogue is leading Seattle Sauce 8-4, and I'm here with Rogue coach Fred Wolf. Hello, Fred.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. So in this first half, DC has been able to get some breaks. What do you think has really been the key to that success?
We're just running our systems. I mean, yesterday took a loss, obviously, and I think the winds kind of took us away from what we did, kind of forced us to do things, forced us to take shots we didn't want to take. And I think today we talked about it, kind of reassessed, and we're doing what we know how to do, and I think it's working out well for us.
And Seattle ran some of a zone in this first half. How has the experience from your handler set really been able to work through that?
Right. I mean, we're really lucky to have such an experienced offensive line. These players have been here for years. Last year, obviously, before that in swing vote, a lot of them. So I think they really know each other well. They know that they're all talented, and they know when to get out of each other's way and when they need to take over. So I'm really lucky to have this group. It's a great group.
So balancing the mental toughness game is sometimes the most difficult opponent in a tournament. So what do you say, or maybe exercises you work through with the players to keep up that intensity, but take it also one half at a time?
Right. We talked a lot about this, and usually I'm not a fan about talking about formats, talking about that kind of stuff, but I think in this case, this is a pre-quarter game. Like, this is an elimination game we're playing right now, and we still control our own destiny. We don't have to focus on anybody else doing stuff. It's just us, it's our game, and we're playing one game to move on to the next round. And I think that really resonated. I think it's obviously working out pretty well for us.
All right, well, good luck in the second half.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Fred Wolf with DC Rogue. They lead Seattle Sauce 8-4.
Is that generic enough? That's years of watching sports interviews there. Cool. Thanks for doing this.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Oh, man.
I would climb over. I mean, you're really
Climb, like, over this
tall.
way?
Sure. And then you just kind of hike up on the ladder. There you
Yeah,
go.
that's the easiest. That's
Tiniest, thinnest little.
figured it out. Yeah. Ah.
Good luck.
Cool. Yes. Not going to be easy from here.
I like to get to be as
Molly won the third place game, but it was 11-10. Are they quarters? Or are they more than, I think they definitely move up. Like, they just move.
Next is a boys' quarter and a girls' quarter. So I'm wondering, I don't know who gets to decide which quarter. I wanted to see if most of the quarter is possible.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want, mainland's around.
Welcome back, where DC Rogue is ahead of Seattle Sauce 8-4 in this final round of pool play. Serves as a pre-quarters matchup, kind of depending on how teams are doing. And DC Rogue coming out with a strong start. They're up by 4 goals.
Right, and they're going to receive the first O-point downwind.
So that gives a little extra advantage. Rogue in the white jerseys, Seattle Sauce in the black. So picked up and swung right away. Requires a dive to stay alive, but there it is. Rogue with 4 handlers back.
Seems like a good way to counteract this cup they're putting on, though. I said we'd revisit the zone defense. Now seems to be a good time. There's 2 points to a zone defense. You can either hope that the team can't throw it around the players, and so they try to throw it over and the wind picks it up, and that's a difficult throw. Or the second thing is make the handlers throw a mistake. They have to keep passing and passing, and with the wind, that's not easy. So it looks like it worked this time. They threw it away.
So Seattle with the backhand hook, lot of length, and a really athletic jump by Redding.
As soon as she jumped, the disc moves because of the wind again. By no fault of these players at all. It's a lot more turnovers in a game than you typically see, especially at this high level of play.
So Rogue working through, Youngst with the disc. It's over to Nisley, and a big wind gust came in. That's another where you see the disc move. It's where it's positioning. Disc goes to Seattle.
Great hands.
Redding looking for the reset.
Something was called.
Back into play, high release backhand. It's good.
An offensive foul was called. You don't see a ton of those, but we'll see what the verdict was. Redding doesn't think she fouled.
I think it was a stall call, actually.
Oh.
So it looks like the disc will go back. Shot to the end zone. It's sailing, veering to the left. But
Sauce comes down.
there's Gadu. She sticks one hand up in the air, and that is what's needed to get that goal.
Sometimes height wins. I don't have that advantage in my life.
And you can see there are about 3 Rogue defenders. They're all pushing for the block, but the way the angle of the disc goes, it goes straight into Gadu's hands. So Sauce starts off. I think that was a break.
That was an downwind break. Wait. Maybe I'm tired today.
It was a break nonetheless.
It was.
3-point lead still for Rogue. Sauce doing a quick huddle up to try and take advantage of the momentum they get from such an exciting score. So Sauce has the disc to pull. Bailey Shigley headed to CU Boulder in the fall.
Get it back, back, here we go. Get it back.
So Rogue, 3 handlers back. Sauce sticking with the zone that has worked well. Rogue knifing through.
Bring the disc. Cat more to me, cat more to me. Good, yeah, right there, right there. Swing! Swing the disc!
And keeping with the short passes, kind of looking for those bigger swings, gain yards upfield.
Great fakes.
Right through the fingertips of the defense. Alston to Tornquist.
Bring it! Bring the disc! Swing,
And
swing!
You can hear the Rogue coaches on the side. Maybe you can't. We can hear the Rogue coaches on the side begging their players to swing the disc. But this cup is a highly effective defensive move.
so they go over the top to Alston. The disc has predominantly been staying on that far side of the field. And we'll cut through to Fugel. One-handed grab by Youngst. And that continues through calm, patient offense. Maya Neer gets the goal for Rogue. And Youngst has to really get tall to grab it, but has such a nice continuation throw.
I don't think they gave it much coverage in the replay, but Lauren Wynn, number 3 on Sauce, I think she was single-handedly shutting down all of those swings, and that's what was really ticking off the Rogue coaches, is that she wasn't letting that swing get off despite how much they begged for it. So we can look for that again if she's in the cup. Watch how she cuts back every time they look to swing it. It's a really good move. She's a heads-up player.
So DC Rogue not able to get as many swings, instead go up the far side of the field. They managed to convert. They are up within 4. They have 9. Seattle has 5. The time on the screen is the hard cap. The soft cap will go on about 20 minutes from now. And typically with that, whichever score is ahead, once the soft cap is on, you add 2, and that's the new high score of the game.
Right, do you think it's going to get to a soft cap today?
I think it depends if Sauce is able to convert here.
Let's watch and see.
And a bit of a step through and a hurdle. The wind starting to pick up. Elmi over to right. Continues.
Wow. Oh, it was a drop.
Incomplete. Oh, but a foul is called on the throw.
A non-contest goes back to 0. But they're waiting for the other players to set back up where they were when the foul happened.
So Elmi will continue to Shintet Koka. And going over the top, but Barton's able to catch it, continues to Shintet Koka, and with one more pass, that's Gabby Payoyo, gets the goal for Seattle.
I know I predicted one thing in the beginning, but I'm beginning to put my foot in my mouth. Most of the points have been upwind scores, and I'm really surprised by that. But that just goes to show the level of players we're working with here.
So Seattle able to get the score and keep the margin of lead to about the same. They'll need to get breaks if they want to tie it up. Rogue proving difficult to be broken with such a strong set. There you see Seattle mixtape player Cam Bailey on the sideline, some other teammates coming over to cheer on Seattle.
Cheering on their future, really. So here's food for thought. If we didn't display Seattle's Sauce's score and DC Rogue's score, I bet that most people watching would think it's a tied game. Would you agree?
Probably so. I think there have been a lot of back and forth going through. Both teams have had quick offensive possessions. But especially in those first few points of the first half, DC just seemed so dominant.
They did cruise. You're totally right.
Anna, I see you, Anna! I see you, Anna!
So Rogue back with 4 handlers. Strategy that worked well for them earlier. They work it across the field, and then now some movement up the middle. Tornquist over to Nisley, straight through. Rogue able to find those openings through the middle every so often, even with really 6 players within 10 feet, not 10 feet, 20 feet of the disc. Youngst on the near sideline. Looks for that reset. DC getting towards the end zone as Seattle looks like has transitioned to a person look. Such tight spaces they're throwing into.
It only makes sense that a pick was called after that. While they resolve this dispute, look to number 7, Caroline Tornquist. You can watch her throwing fakes and trying to pull people in the cup defense to one side or the other and open up holes to throw to her teammates. That is a perfect offensive move against a cup like this.
And before it can get to Tornquist, Sauce is there.
Great,
D'Souza
great
running
defense.
through. So Elmi will pick up. Sauce looking for the opportunity to take it within 2, but right off the bat, there's some contact, so discussion on the play.
Again, for those viewers who haven't seen a lot of Ultimate, it's a contact-free sport. So if someone gets bumped and that affects their ability to get the disc, they can call a foul.
So the disc will stay with Keefe. Underneath. Those continuation cuts. And was a valiant layout from Shigley. Rogue back with the disc.
Cat, back to help! Someone under! Someone under! Cat, you post! Cat, you post!
And a big huck over the top is floating. That's caught. Sands just outside of the end zone, and she will call a timeout. So, nice run from Sands to
And
catch that.
Great huck, too. Straight up wind. That was textbook.
So that puts Rogue into scoring position, but end zone defense is just so critical, and it's a small area. So a lot of times the favor goes to the defense.
It's true.
Versus the rest of the field, usually the favor goes to the offense.
A lot of players will say, as soon as someone calls a timeout on the red zone like that, they'll say, oh, veteran move. But you're right. The fact of the matter is that I think the defense is favored if both team gets a chance to set up their offensive play and their defensive response.
See some lightsabers in the huddle.
They really are into those lightsabers. But whatever keeps them going, it seems to be working thus far.
Talking about movies, Rogue One is the Star Wars story. So the lightsabers make sense.
I was thinking DC Comics.
And that is...
I probably should know which it is, but both great.
Yes.
So you'll see the offensive setup first, and then the defense is allowed to respond. And once everyone is set, they'll check the disc in on whatever stall count it was. I think 4.
So lots of fakes to find an opening, and Rogue is able to convert. That gets them to their 10th goal of the game.
Loads of fakes, just waiting for that opportunity to rip something, and it worked out.
Ellie Heel, another graduating senior, headed to Mary Washington, a D3 school. And the wind has unquestionably picked up since even that goal was scored. As Sauce walks it back down, hoping to get a point here to stay alive.
It's a simple commentary, but I love having players' last names on their shirts. I think it looks so slick, and it makes our jobs easier too.
And clear numbers are great. So we're about 9 minutes away from soft cap. Rogue needing 5 points to take the game, but Seattle with the disc on offense, hoping to narrow the lead. Lee looking for Barton, but a stall is called.
That is big.
So Rogue will get it about 2/3 of a way down the field. Laser of a pass, but Alston's there for it. Another, and the next shot
So
just
close.
kind of spurts through the hands of the receiver, and Seattle player slow to get up.
Another thing you'll hear mentioned a lot in Ultimate is spirit of the game. And I think this is one of numerous examples. The self-officiation is one. When you see a player high-five their opponent when they get scored on, that's another. And then taking a knee for stuff like this is another kind of small example of spirit of the game. Maybe lightsabers is another example. Keeping things lighthearted, not hyper-competitive as far as mentality is concerned. They still are playing at the highest level you'll see.
Yes, and spirit of the game is one of the highest tenets. You'll see teams with spirit circles after, really looking to praise each other, and that's something that is very common overseas, especially in Europe. You see that all the time.
Absolutely. Asia as well. Every single point game I've ever played in the Asia Pacific, Southeast Asia area, everything is ended with some sort of cheer or game for your opponents.
And we see that more and more into competitive play, but it is has been a mainstay at the Youth Club Championships for years.
It's here to stay, for sure.
So, looks like Rogue will keep the disc. They'll check it in right at the front of the end zone. And the sliding catch is good to Grace Alston. Register another goal for her.
Right, and that's a break too. Sweet knee slide into a break. Let's see it again. And Wynn was just a little bit behind her. Great defense on her part as well.
So that's 11 for
Wow.
DC.
They're starting to pull away a little. But the players running onto the line for Seattle, they don't look downtrodden at all. Their heads are up, they're ready to go. And I think they still have a lot of fight left in them.
And it's just such an exciting opportunity to play Ultimate.
Agreed.
At such a high level, teams coming from all over the country. And you know, when you're playing in youth, you play a lot of the same high schools all the time. You're a little bit prohibited by travel ability.
Right.
But coming here, get to experience new playing styles and formats.
Let's get it, Seattle!
We're good. We're going to merge it. We're away from
So Seattle working out of the vert stack. Tight grab from Jintek Koka, but the next pass incomplete. And another incomplete pass will give the disc back to Seattle. Right picking up. And a hand block from Rogue. I think that was beyond. But a bounce.
Oh dear.
Gusty, just a lot of gusts happening through. So Rogue looking for the deep space. They'll send it. It's floating a lot. And I think if it had floated a half a second longer, Wynn very well would have gotten it.
I agree. It's not like they're just jumping and hoping. They know exactly what they're doing when they're diving. And man, they make it look easy.
So disc back with Rogue. Into space. And that's floating overhead, batted down by Sauce. But into the throw comes nicely, just uses her body
Wow.
to get there.
She might have a bruise from that later. That was a hard hit, but I think she would say worth it.
The swing's good. They'll reset, and the bobble incomplete. So Sauce getting on the goal line. That's high up in the air and floating,
Wow.
but with one hand is caught. Believe that was
Payoyo.
Payoyo.
She tracked that down. Amazing.
There were
Here it comes again.
two receivers, but you can see sailing high over the top over Jintek Coco. But Payoyo
She
playing with
wanted
the
it.
defense. So it's 11-7, Rogue. As Seattle, you could hear on the sideline saying, throw it deep, throw it deep. Once they did that, that opened it up to where there were subsequent turnovers. They were able to have that field position.
Agreed.
So the soft cap horn just blew, but that means that the game will be to either 14 or 13.
Yep, it depends on the outcome of this point because it technically went on during this point. Or went off.
Right. Once a point is scored, technically the next point has just begun.
Exactly. So it looks like it says game to 15 on the screen still. You can ignore that. We'll find out what the game is to in 1 point.
Nicely underneath to Sands. And that sails overhead. Here's another chance for Sauce.
Hey, Anna, too deep. Hey, Bailey, too deep. We're too deep. Our stack is too deep. Anna, too deep.
But first pass a little bit too short. The disc goes back to Rogue. But they give it right back.
Wow, tit for tat.
Right to Elmi. Now to D'Souza. Diving look. But can't get there. Rogue looking for the next look, and a layout is what it takes. But a tip through gets the disc back to Seattle. There's the huck, and it's hanging, and
Couple misreads.
I think initially the first Sauce receiver thought it was going to get D'd. It went over the defender.
Wow.
So Rogue will throw it, but it's intercepted
no.
by Elmi.
Looks like an injury is being called, or maybe a foul. Oh, she's fine. Bounces right back. It will stay with Seattle.
So Elmi puts that shot up, one-handed. Gadu with the continuation to Shigley. Seattle Sauce is able to get another score.
Closing that gap.
So the gap is back to 3. Timeout called, Rogue. It will be a game to 13.
Looks like Rogue's weapon of choice is lightsaber. Seattle is over here with super soakers.
And they had super soakers on their sidelines too.
Who knew Ultimate was so violent for a non-contact sport?
Only with toy weapons.
Of
nothing
course.
real. Or on the field, avoiding violence as much as possible.
Fair.
And off to the side, watching this game, is the defending U20 champions, the Warhawks out of North Carolina. If I recall, they played Rogue in the finals last year and won. So Warhawks with some experienced players looking to advance. Probably excited to watch two storied programs out of DC and Seattle.
We just heard it here. Rogue One, they chanted. I mean, you called it.
I mean, the lightsabers,
It was a giveaway.
I thought that was a great movie. I really enjoyed it.
Loved it. Watched it maybe 4, 5 times in the theaters.
I saw it twice in the theaters.
You're welcome, Disney. I gave you a lot of money.
Yes. I watched Rogue One and then went back to the first, A New Hope, to see it move through. And it was over the holiday break, and just went ahead and watched all of the Star Wars.
Why not?
In the course of 2 or 3 days.
Why not?
When you don't have Ultimate to watch, you resort to watching a lot of movies. Lucky for all of us, we have so much Ultimate at our fingertips on this live stream. There's the pull. Falls fast. Goes over to Rogue and run through.
That was a critical D for Seattle.
Disc goes to Seattle. They're inside of half field, looking to take it within 2. Laser of a throw, a laser of a shot to the end zone, and that's a break from Seattle. Angelina Gentet Coca gets that score.
And what a gorgeous layout it was, too.
And Wynn puts that up to space. And the 16-year-old receiver knows what she needs to do and isn't afraid to go get it. So Sauce narrows the lead to 2.
They might have added another ingredient or 2 to that special sauce. I think it's getting a little bit of kick now.
You see the coaches have, the sauce coaches have jerseys that on the back have the ingredients to their special sauce, which is of course all the different teammates. Aww.
That is golden. Seattle has closed the gap. It's a 2-point game.
So you can see, actually now you can a little bit, you can see the sauce bottle.
Oh, there it is.
And the list of all of the different players. It's their secret sauce. Actually, not so much of a secret. We see it here. So the pull just past half field. Huck right away looking for Youngst, and the wind pushes that out the back.
That still may be to Rogue's advantage as the wind is really picked up and they're right on that end zone line.
So Seattle can take the game within 1. They can work it through the wind, but
oh dear,
the second pass is incomplete. And Rogue is able to convert. Sands gets the goal. So now Rogue is within 1 of taking the game.
Wow.
Attacking that forced sideline with the really nice look from Kirsten Knisley. She's headed to William and Mary in the fall.
I wonder what the non-graduating players are thinking for next year. They've got how many players graduating, and they're really gunning hard right now, potentially taking this game. I think they might not be thinking about next year quite yet.
I think they're thinking about getting to 13 for now. But that's the benefit of these youth programs, is being able to build up a strong base and foundation. And we've heard coaches talking about that, how they integrate younger players into the system so they can learn from those with more experience to really grow.
I wish I had even known about youth ultimate, or even ultimate, when I was in high school. It was a, you know, a fictitious thing to me at that point.
We played ultimate in the afternoon at high school cross-country practice.
Right?
That's how I
Like
first
after a
learned
meet.
how to play. So the first look is good. Second is the deep shot. And coming back to the disc, incomplete. So Rogue looking for the continuation, but Sauce is able to get it. They're on the sideline, need to get it off. They do. That big continue floating, and it's caught. We're back within 2.
That was Gadu with a real heads-up play. Definitely wasn't intended for her, but she saw her teammate needed some help and was there for the pickup.
It's a wonderful part of team sports that everyone can rely on each other and that they're all different roles to play. I heard a really great video from LeBron James giving a pep talk to his son's youth team, actually. And he was telling them, look, everybody plays a role. They're Hall of Famers who came off of the bench. They made it to the NBA and they're not starters. Does that mean they're not good? Of course they're good, but everyone has a role to play. And when you play, that's what comes with playing a team sport. If you don't want to play a team sport, go play tennis, go play golf. But if you're gonna play a team sport, everyone has that part. And you see that maybe the disc, you're the intended receiver, it goes over your head, but you've got a teammate there to help you out.
I wonder if we could get LeBron to come here and talk to us. I would gladly give up my headset for him. Now LeBron stepping in for Eric.
LeBron is a little busy these days.
Right.
But certainly he investing in the future, youth sports, youth education. And the pull lands kind of in between midfield and the brick mark. It's over to Alston. Gains big yards to Tornquist. Looking for the end zone to take the game, but that is a block. We're looking for a call here. There is a foul called. Pioneer. Looks like she's saying that she is already going for it. As we discussed, the observer cannot make a rule. You can't go to the observer and have them decide.
Right, right. And once you get past youth ultimate, that's not the case. Actually, observers have the official word, but.
So we'll send it back.
So some sort of foul contested, and they're just going to do it again. We'll see if the disc don't lie is something that sticks today.
So back into play, Rogue with a chance to win the game if they can score. Looking over to Youngst. An inside look to Tornquist. And an end zone shot to Youngst.
Oh.
Soars overhead. And that's a similar spot where we've seen the disc go high in the end zone.
We've seen Youngst has ups, but it's hard if you're not expecting that.
So Sauce gets the small reset up the line, incomplete. Alston will check it in for Rogue, but bounces off of the hands of the receiver. Disc goes back to Seattle. They break open a little bit. And that swing, that's a hard throw.
And it was a high stall count too.
So Alston back with the Frisbee as Rogue looks to convert in the end zone. The wind whipping through. So Wright will walk over for Seattle to pick up. High release that works to win. But through the hands of Elmy, it's rolling. Elmy puts a stop to that.
Flicks that close are really difficult.
So Alston is pointing exactly where she wants it to go. That's where Tornquist is. I reckon they'll have more connections this tournament and at Dartmouth this coming fall as DC Rogue takes the game 13-10. So despite some great momentum from Seattle, especially late in the second half, Rogue is able to put it away.
But I would say that Seattle did not at all resemble something like rolling over. They made Rogue work for every single point.
So the pool play rounds are complete with an exciting matchup. East Coast versus West Coast. Seattle, look at that nice one-handed catch. And then Rogue. They convert a lot, but not without pressure. So much athleticism, poise, and continue. For Eric Nelson, I'm Emmy Fitzgerald. This has been produced by Fulcrum Media, presented by USA Ultimate. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.